is a webinar on how to create and lead your own team while also collaborating effectively. So I'm first going to go over the PDF. So if everyone can pull open the PDF, I'm going to wait a few minutes. And then when everyone's on, and I'll see that we have some viewers on, then I will start going over the PDF format. I guess I could also talk a little bit about me since this is going to be going on YouTube. So I founded Under 30 Changemakers about 1.5 years ago. January 28th was our 1.5 year mark. And I founded it because this is very much pertaining to the discussion that we're going to be having. But I just founded it because I was very lonely. I didn't have a team for a very long time. I worked by myself. A little bit about my backstory. I was originally just in the tech space. I know Under 30 Changemakers has the, as it should, has the social good aspect to it, but I didn't always have that. I felt like it was very much missing from the projects that I was doing. I did all sorts of projects. I worked on a fashion startup where we worked with models for a little bit. I did the marketing for them. I started my own organization in high school called the Diabetes Dance Marathon, and that was interesting. We didn't just do a dance marathon. We did fashion shows. We did a concert. What else? We did a ton of stuff that was a lot of fun and gave me a kind of taste of what the event world was like. And so I learned from that actually how to start really building and leading teams. But for a while after that, after high school, I graduated early and I didn't really have a team. I thought I could do everything on my own. And I really don't believe that that is something that should be encouraged with especially people who are young, because it's so just detrimental to your self-esteem and to your self-worth. I wouldn't, if I were to go back, this is honestly the one thing I would really try and teach myself was, okay, you have to start collaborating with other people. It's not something you can do by yourself. I remember for about a year, I was working on a project called You Care Package, which was a care package subscription for college students. And that ended up just, it was totally out of money by the end of it. I spent it on a coder that I found on Elance and spent my entire savings for it. And I just thought, hey, this is the one thing I can't do by myself. I didn't think to actually start having team members around that. So I think like all of my pain points eventually led to me starting Under 30 Changemakers. And a huge part of that was, how do I get to work with other people? How do I not do this by myself? Because it's really not working. I didn't feel like I was effectively creating change or the impact that I wanted with the projects that I was working on. So yeah, and now all I do is connection. I realize that that is the one piece for me that is important and that I value. And I'm just really glad that I found that. So what I do for a living is I connect nonprofits with for-profits. That can look anything like sponsorship or in-kind donations. I love that. And food donations. I'm actually in a space right now that I cover their food donations for. So it's something that I really enjoy and something that I think I'm pretty good at. Yeah, so I see we have one viewer on so far. It's 7:02, so I'm going to give it a few more minutes until I start going over the PDF. What else about Under 30 Changemakers? So we're having a Changemaker Summit come up in the next few months. On August 6th to 9th, we're going to be having an incredible summit. I can actually, for those who are viewing, I'll give you some insider details. So I just actually finished the schedule recently. It's almost completely done. I added two. I can't say any promises because all events are subject to change. So no promises, but what we're looking at is possibly doing a Changemaker University Day, and also a Hack for Good Day on the morning periods. So somewhere between like 9 to lunchtime. And We're going to be bringing in our partner organizations, which most people don't know. I'm going to be giving a lot of insider scoops on what under 30 is and like what our workings of under 30 are. But so our team came together and we just kept hearing, oh, we need to make a summit, we need to make a summit. And we have all these partners in place that support us through offering mentorship, offering like maybe just like support and like emotional support. They also have programming, which we refer people to all the time. Things like mostly alternative higher education. So that's where Changemaker University comes into play. So people will get a class schedule and then they'll be able to sample what the classes look like with a lot of our partner organizations. So hopefully we'll have like some coding schools come in. We'll have our partners I can't say names because nothing is solid yet, but hopefully we will have solid names soon to come. Okay, still one viewer, so I will keep going. So the Hack for Good event, that's something that I'm super excited about. I just changed the formatting of it so that the Changemaker University came before the Hack for Good event. So Hack for Good is something that happens all over the world. So you got people in from design to coding, all these skill sets that come together. Also the business skill set especially comes together and creates solutions to usually pressing local issues. And we're actually going to be prototyping our Changemaker chapter because that's what the Changemaker chapters are meant to do. They're meant to, in the chapter that you're in, address local issues and catalyze the changemakers in that area to be able to solve those issues. So we're going to be taking all of the local, we don't have the issue set yet. I think it's going to be something based on inequality in San Francisco. I know that's a huge issue and it's something that we're pretty well tapped into. And we're going to be bringing together organizations around that issue to be able to come together and collaborate on how to solve it. So we're using design thinking skills for that. We're going to be using rapid prototyping. It's going to be a really fun event where people can just come together and work together on a very big, hairy issue and possibly solve it. So, okay. So we have one viewer, it's 7:06. I know this is going to be going on YouTube, so I'm just going to go ahead and start. So my name is Tara Byrne, for those who are watching. I am the founder of Under 30 Changemakers. I got my start as an entrepreneur, as many of you have, and we really recruit people who have had obstacles in their lives and that have also that are also trying to solve a pressing global or local issue. So that can be anything from lack of diversity in tech to we have people who are raising awareness for North Korea. We have people who are activists in a specific, like whistleblowers in a specific area for environmental change. We have people who are journalists, people who, we have so many different types of people. We have people who have the potential to become a change maker, have the plans to become a change maker, and are just trying to figure out the steps to be there. And this is why we have webinars like this, where people can come in and learn about how to make those steps based off of what we know of building under 30 change makers, kind of meta. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go over the PDF. So our PDF is how to collaborate effectively and lead your own team, lessons that we've learned from building under 30 change makers. So it starts as it began on an impulse, as most of the things I do happen all the time. So I had a ton of people coming up to me saying, I really want to help under 30. How do I do that? It's just something that I feel so connected to. I remember Tay or Taylor Cohen, as some of you may know. She was the one who we called each other, had a very long talk, and she really told me what under 30 meant to her. She said it was a support group that she couldn't find outside of her university. It was a place that she felt open and transparent, and she trusted the people who were in it. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that we're all millennials, so we understand that our age group, which we often, with the stuff that we're doing, we don't get to connect with the people that are our age. And then she also said that she just felt she was understood and resonated with the people who were in the group just based off of what they were interested in, and then also how they responded to her. So that was the culture that we were going for when we started. We started as an emotional and mental support group and then grew from there. It was really supposed to be people who, and we actually kept it small for a while. It was under 100 people for, I have to say, like maybe 6 months or so. And then we took a poll and everyone said, oh, I want to expand. So we did. Now we're at about almost 850 members, and we made that choice. And whether that works as a support group or not is hard to say, but we do still support changemakers in any way we can, which means helping them find funding, helping them find mentors, and then also helping them find the people to connect to. Especially, I think that's our biggest give is, and our biggest value to changemakers is having a platform where people can connect to one another. And what I'm hoping that this does is hopefully after this you can connect with other changemakers on how to build your team. So whether those are changemakers coming into your team, which I guarantee there are people in under 30 who would love to be part of a team. I will say not everybody is working on a project. A lot of people are open to actually joining one. I would like to, actually now that I'm thinking about this is something I could do after the webinar. I would like to get a type form up or some sort of survey where people can just fill it out and we can know who's willing to join teams and who's looking for teams. We could also do that on a thread. Recruitment is a really big problem. As Devani mentioned right before this webinar, recruitment is a really hairy process. I was very lucky in that I didn't have to go through although LinkedIn is something that I really recommend to people who are looking to actually hire and pay employees. I didn't do that. I actually was very lucky, and I had a lot of people in my network who were already saying, I really want to be working with you. And I think when you get to that point, you know that you have to be starting a team. There's just no way around it. And we had gotten to that point where we knew that to expand, we had to have people who were willing to look over the applications and have one-on-ones with people. When we started the Changemaker Summit, which also has about 6 teams built into it, we had people who were looking at Justin Bugard, who's a very active member in under 30. He spent, I think it was like 20 or 30 one-on-one calls with different change makers on what got them excited, what their dreams were, what their stories were, and we recorded most of them, and we got to see that. But that's a big time commitment for somebody who's working on anything. It was hours upon hours of work, and I really appreciate him for that. But that's something that we asked for team members. I did ask for whoever wanted to help out with the summit. That's a big time commitment. So he happened to have, I think he was like in between jobs. He happened to have time for it, and we made that happen. So, so not everyone can have people who are just willing to do it. You often have to ask. On our end, we were mostly asked to join. It wasn't just asking. Of course, that also means you should be talking to people in your network anyway. Your network are people who already have some sense of what you do, who what kind of trust they have with you, especially people who you've worked with in the past and have built up credibility with, and they also know your competency levels, which we'll talk about later. So that's what I'm going to say about recruitment. It's not a lot. But I would really recommend, I can list sources after this and I could post them into under 30, but that's really what we've been working with. And also you have to understand it's totally different. We're waiting on our 501c3 application to go through and to be approved as a 501c3. Right now we're fiscally sponsored as a 501c3. So we have a nonprofit element to it that's not going to be the same with every company. When I recruited, actually, I don't think I've ever really recruited to hire. Besides that, I've hired freelancers, but that's not the same as hiring a team. So I work with people who are willing to give their time to me for free, and that is something I don't take lightly. It's something that I really appreciate, and I am so grateful to our team that we have now. We have 10 people in our exec team and about 26 people in our summit committees overall. So that's something that I am just so grateful for, and it has really made a difference in how the summit is coming together, and also how Under 30 as a whole operates with people on engagement, people on tech. It really makes a difference to me as for my time, and then also I think to the change makers as a whole. So I'm going to go on from recruitment. I really encourage everyone to read along, because I won't be reading it verbatim. You can just check it out yourself. So communication style was really interesting for us. We tried a lot of things. I had this aha moment when I think it was like 2 weeks into using Slack, and it just slowed to a crawl. I was just thinking, this is so annoying. Like, you can get the notifications coming up, but it's just way too much for me. I think Slack works really well for certain people, but just not for me. We've used Trello. We've had, so Zapier is something that I would really recommend to people if they want it coming in one place. So what Zapier, as some people call it, it's ZAPIER, I think, .com. And I recommend you look that up. That can zap or bring in different tools online and make them come together. So we zapped all of our Typeform applications into our Trello, and that actually really automated the process. But you can also do that with communication as a whole. So if one of your communication doesn't really seem like it's clicking, you can zap it over to email, and then everyone checks their email. My biggest recommendation is to use communication that people are already using. So in our case, everyone's on Facebook because we have a Facebook group to begin with. That's what Under 30 Changemakers started as, and that's what it currently mainly is. So we use a lot of Facebook groups. We have a Facebook group for the inner circle, as we call it, or the core exec team. And we also have 2 Facebook groups for the committee as a whole, and then our committee chairs for the summit. And that it's really easy to just, everyone can just ask questions in there, post comments. I usually do it to put in documents that I don't want to be putting out as a group message. That I've just used it today to talk about our new changes to the schedule, things like that. Just make it super easy, something that people are already using. We use Twitter a lot right now for connection. That could work for you, but something that someone's already using. And I said a natural extension, but I really do believe that. If you're using a tool, it should be a natural extension of the life that you're already living. So journaling for me doesn't seem like a natural extension of my life. I know a ton of people love journaling, but that just doesn't work for me. So do something that you also get really excited about and that you really love to do. So that's what I'm going to say about methods. I really think it's important to communicate a shared vision. A shared vision is not just goals and a mission statement. A shared vision is something where you have really thought, okay, this is what it is, and this is what it could be. This was especially true with Under 30 because I already had an idea of what it was. It was a support group. It was pretty small. I wanted it to start scaling, as other people in the community had said, but I also wanted it to start scaling a certain way. I wanted us to have a certain culture. I wanted us to get to that place. So you have to have the vision, A to B. This is where we're going to be going. How you get there is totally different. You don't need to worry about that as much, but you need to know where you are going. That is super important. I had someone on our summit committee mention that to me. I had a moment of existential crisis for a little while where I was thinking, oh, our vision is not as clear as I'd like it to be. We really looked over the types of words that we had been using, things like help and support weren't exactly where we wanted it to be. So we really looked into the word empowerment, and that became our word for where we wanted to go. It took a lot of soul searching. It took a lot of conversations with people where I was freaking out. I mean, this is something that you need to get straight before you start talking to team members and before you even start recruiting. You need to get straight about your own vision. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to be going over it focuses on you first. You need to make sure that you are capable of leading that team, because you know for yourself where you want to be going. So, and then on to an action plan. I had a friend of mine who's very good at project management explain to me what the action plan for any kind of project should look like. And I had it as a little graphic in here, but it should have a scope, meaning what kind of goals, tasks, and all the little details. What is your scope of the project? Should have a timeline, which I have a link to the timeline in the extra bonus tips at the end. I have a 6-month timeline, which I really recommend to people to try out. And then you also have the resources. So resources include things like finances. What does your budget look like? This was a huge question for us as we were going into the summit, because we didn't have a budget. So what were we willing to fundraise? What were we capable of fundraising? And what was realistic for us? So if we're starting from 0, what's realistic for us to get to? So all of that also, so as the scope comes down, the timeline can expand, or as the timeline expands, the scope can, so all of these change with one another. So if you have a lack of resources, your timeline and your scope are going to be bigger. If you have a very small timeline, your scope and your resources are going to be bigger. So this will expand and contract based on what your current circumstances are or what they can be. So vision is also important to do this beforehand so that you can get a clear picture on where you are going to be going. Know your team. I originally called this Know Thy Team. So I really recommend having a meet and greet hangout where everyone can just talk to one another and share their stories. I think that that's really important for people to get to know each other on a human level, not just, hey, we're going to go into work. We need to understand who these people are that you're working with. You've probably already established some sort of relationship with them. I encourage you to have one-on-ones with all team members before you do this hangout to get to know them if you haven't already gotten to know them. Because you should be saying, hey, I know so-and-so is really good at blank, or I think that you two would connect together based on what I know about you both. I think it's encouraging and understanding how to connect them one-on-one in that meet and greet for the future, mostly after this first meet and greet. That's really important. I also think that this has to be on a video hangout. It shouldn't be on something else unless you can get in person. I think that's even better. But I really do think that this meet and greet is really important to establish culture and then also to establish how we know one another. And after that, it's really important for yourself to understand your own expectations. So based on what little or as much as you know about your team, what are your expectations of them before you get to that? Because you might even be thinking in the meet and greet, okay, I'm going to expect so-and-so to be this, or you might be projecting on them. I think what's more important is to really focus on what your own expectations are going to be of yourself. So what is realistic, and then what are you capable of doing? For me, I usually run out of steam by Wednesday. Yesterday, I did not get off the couch. I'm just so tired by that time of the week. I don't know why, but I always take off Wednesday. When I'm Skyping from a couch or my bed most of the time. So, good things to know about yourself. You should communicate that with your team, or if it comes up, communicate it as needed. So know the things and needs and expectations that you need to be communicating beforehand. Like, hey, if you do this, I'm going to get super pissed. That is something good to know about yourself, and then also something you really need to communicate. Things that are just going to trigger you. So in here, I talk about the blueprint of we. It goes over something called interaction styles and warning signs. I really encourage you to look at this with yourself. So understand your own interaction styles. Are you an introvert? Are you going to be closing up when people say certain things? Are you going to be opening up when people say certain things? Communicate that with your team. It's really important to know. And I also think that warning signs, so when I shut down, I become very quiet. Some people start to scream. This is good to know. And then also say, what can I do to return to peace? So I think that this is super important with anybody in any relationship, whether it's business or personal, to understand how can we get back to a place during a meeting, during a hangout, where we can all be on the same page, where we can understand where we went wrong and how to get back to a constructive, positive roadmap to where we want to go. So I really recommend everyone to check out the Blueprint of We. It's really helped me. I don't always use the contract, but I always keep it in mind when establishing a relationship. What does this person need from me when they aren't feeling safe, when they aren't feeling trusting, when I have done something wrong on their behalf to them? What can I do to make this person feel at peace? So that's all I'm gonna say on that piece. If anyone has any questions, feel free to message them to me, or you can also use the Q&A. Finding best fit. I recently started to look into cognitive styles. I didn't realize that this was a reason that certain teammates weren't getting along very well. So there are two types of, so it's called Curtin adaptive innovation theory. And it's really how people approach any kind of problem. So they're either going to be adaptive and resourceful. So they're going to be like, hey, I want to try like the things that I know and the things that I can think of it as collaboration versus, this is kind of how I view it, collaboration versus competition. It's very typical of how business is going right now. So collaboration is something where we already have existing resources. We have so many existing resources. This is actually something I do. So I connect. I see things that are already existing and I connect them together. This would show something like I am very adaptive or resourceful. So I'm good at working within the constraints. Innovative and original is the opposite end of the spectrum, and these are people who want to create something new. I often find that this isn't necessary, but some people really believe that, okay, we need a new idea, and it's just how they work. It's how they see a problem and they see, okay, new solution, or okay, this is what we have. This is our scope. These are all our constraints. How do we solve it within this? There's more of a box and then there's more of a circle is how I kind of visually think of it. And then there's also competency levels. This is something that I see a lot of project managers really getting stuck on, is they've hired somebody or they've brought them on their team and they're thinking, wow, this person is not meeting my expectations. This person is not at the level that I thought they were, whether that's the skill or experience level. And usually you have to test people out for this. So this is a good example of why you have a trial period with people. So if you're unsure of a competency level where you're saying, okay, I haven't worked with this person before, or I'm not sure of where they're at, I haven't seen enough of their work, a trial period is very typical. People, you probably can relate to this because people, especially in our generation and in our area where we're working with people who usually are new and haven't experienced our work before, you might have already experienced some sort of trial period. I do recommend that. I recommend a week to 2 weeks, not anything crazy, to just get a feel for how that person works and what their work looks like. Personality is something that can be debated on. So the Myers-Briggs is really basic. It's where I'm an ENFP/ENTJ. I am almost always 100% extroverted. I get a lot of energy from being around other people. I'm very intuitive, and then the last two just switch every time. I am almost a 0% or 0%, just goes between the two. I don't know how much stock I would give into the Myers-Briggs, but this is something that you can get to know with people. Certain people will have energy. I also ask that everyone is aware of different mental disabilities and disorders. You would be surprised by how many people, and I think also understanding what the values of certain mental disabilities and disorders can have on a team. So we have people on our team who have Asperger's. I have a brother who has Asperger's. I'm pretty good at picking up when certain people don't have certain social cues. I am not a doctor, by the way, and people have told me that they have Asperger's. This is something that we can work with. I am really certain that people with Asperger's have a really great time at doing individual work. They can power through and also focus. So if you can get them really excited about something that they love, they are very, very, very good at figuring it out. My brother was obsessed with Power Rangers for a really long time, and he was able to construct Legos like crazy. And then he was able to make them into Power Rangers, so like huge, big Power Rangers. And his level of focus was so unlike anything else I had ever seen before. So I would really get a chance and hold space for people who will be willing to tell you that. I would say in certain situations you can ask directly. I'm going to talk about communicating directly later. I think it's really important to just have enough trust that people feel safe that you can just ask. Say, hey, I've noticed this. I've noticed these interactions. Are you blank? Also say that that can pose a difficult situation sometimes because people don't feel comfortable with asking and saying there is a possibility that they aren't this, and that can backfire. I would say it's more important to understand and then also for the person to be understood. I'd rather have a space where people know that they can say, hey, in my case, I have a chronic illness that I have difficulty understanding people at certain points. I get something called brain fog, where at certain points I will not be able to understand what a person is telling me. And my interaction style will be I'll kind of nod. I'll kind of say, okay, sure. And that's something that is good for a team member to be aware of when, say, actually on a day like this where the pressure drops, my blood pressure will usually drop and I'll usually get something kind of like brain fog. And it's good for the person to understand that if I'm having a conversation in a space where they can say, okay, on certain days, she will not be as sharp as she usually is. And that's okay. These are all things like creating the expectations and needs of the people around you and just sharing them and being open. And I really do think it's worth asking. Say, hey, I've noticed this. You don't need to say that the disability or disorder if you find that it would offend them. I would say, so what's going on? Could you explain to me why you are experiencing this? So we will also go into appreciative inquiry. I'll also talk about why is also not always the best question to be starting your question with, but I'll get to that later because it can also invoke a defensive mechanism with people say, oh no, I'm not usually like that, but I'll go into that later. So character is something that I'd really like to talk about. So when I started Under 30, I didn't originally ask people, what are you struggling with? I would ask it in one-on-one conversations. I would ask it kind of behind closed doors. So what's really going on? This is something that you should know about the people who you're working with. So what is it like in your life right now? For the past 2 months, it's been really hard in my life, and I've communicated that with my team leaders. I have gone through family troubles. I have gone through health troubles, but I've also talked about that openly with people. I've shared it. And I've been willing to discuss what it's like for me, and then also how it will affect work. I will also say that I will also talk about, okay, during these periods of time, I will actually want to work more. Like this month, I've been working a lot more because it gets my mind off stuff, or I'm just really excited to work more. Being open and then having that constant line of communication is super important. Checking in every week is really important, but it also, so coming back to obstacles and adversity, it's something that I started to ask with changemakers. It's something that I actually included in the application form that we have. And it really does show the level of care and compassion people can have. But not only that, it gives them a level of empathy and understanding that you can't have without having experienced adversity and obstacles. We have a lot of people who've been kicked out of their homes, who have had trouble with family. Who I know in this group that I am not alone in my struggles at all times. When you really start to talk to change makers, you'll realize that, hey, things can be really shitty sometimes, and we can be there to support one another in that. That's also true for team members. I think that's especially true for team members. You really need to know where people are at in their lives. Are they between jobs? Have they lost their job? Are they struggling with depression? Are they so on and so forth? The list just goes on and on with how people are experiencing things and what it's like for them in the current moment. It can vary so greatly. People can be at the top of the world, or they can be so closed off and trying to hide from something or trying to run from something. It's so important to talk to people and just to see, hey, where are you at right now? It's such a simple question. I don't know why people don't ask it more. And also things come up. Things come up very suddenly where you will have to address it. I think even then, having that conversation and checking in with people is just important. If you feel yourself kind of closing off from that and saying, oh, well, I don't think I know them well enough to do that, keep building that relationship. It's so important to get to that level of trust, which we will talk about soon, to be able to share things openly with one another. We're going into something I like to call appreciative inquiry, or not something I like to call, but something that is called appreciative inquiry. So when I said how to ask powerful questions, this is what I was talking about. So step 1, construct your question for impact. Very, very important. I'm sure you've gotten, so what do you do? Obviously, you're not going to be asking that if you're hiring, but because they don't have anything to do yet, it's going to be you. But don't ask yes or no questions, because so this is less powerful to more powerful is how to narrow. So yes, no questions, which, who, when, where. These are all, okay, it's a one-word answer, kind of boring. You're not really getting anywhere. I'd like to know more of, so how did you do this? Why did you do this? And what if we did something different? These are questions that can really invoke a powerful response from people, and you're also going to get more interesting responses from people. So we're going to talk about the why question. So why did you do this? Let's think about that for a second. Why did you do that? That is going to be going into the assumption of, hey, maybe I did this wrong. Maybe I did it right. I don't know. Maybe this person is, there's so many what ifs in that scenario, and maybe assumptions built into that can actually invoke the wrong response that you're going for. It phrased in specific terms and in a specific way. Why can be, why was the world created this way? Why? When it invokes curiosity, that is a really great question. But when it invokes a sense of blame, that's not such a great question. So just be careful in how you use that word. So scope is something you really need to think about. So scope are the details in which you're asking your question. So who are you truly trying to reach is something that you really need to be thinking about. Are you going to be saying something big, or are you going to be very specific, very narrow in what you're trying to ask? It totally depends on what you want your outcome to be, but just be aware that narrowing and being specific can actually lead to better action plans later down the road. I would really encourage, in many cases, to be as specific as possible when you're talking about terms in your question. So things like, what are we trying to address? Be very specific in your question. So I talk about assume collaboration, not separation. This is just more, be aware of the assumptions you are pulling into your question. So every question really has a lot of assumptions baked in, whether they're explicitly or implicitly implied. So will this pull apart? Will this kind of, make people kind of closed off, not wanting to respond? Will they be defensive in how they talk it? Or will people want to discuss after? Will they be curious and collaborative and kind in the response that they give? Or will they be, wait, what did you just say? I'm just gonna, come here and close off and come up like this. You've seen that in meetings before. I guarantee it. You've seen people kind of close off, or are they open? Are they saying, yes, I am super excited about this question. Let's go deeper. Let's dive in. It's something to be, these are all just things to be aware of when you're talking. And then I mentioned go deeper. Nonviolent communication is something I've been wanting to do a webinar in Under 30 on for a while. Nonviolent communication is honestly one of the best communication styles I've ever learned. It's something where you really ask these two questions. What is alive in us? And what can we do to make life more wonderful? Aren't those great questions? Don't they kind of make you smile? They're just happy questions. They're all about how do we create a peaceful language where people feel safe, where people feel open to discuss topics that aren't always easy to talk about. And then also, how can we not blame one another? How can we not make people feel unheard or unsafe? Those things. So I really recommend looking into nonviolent communication. It has really helped me with talking to team members and then also talking to everyone else. These are things that can be applied within and throughout life, within your team and throughout life. So 4, build the foundation of trust. So how can you honestly expect someone to trust you if you cannot trust them first? I'm going to say have because this is true. I have a really hard time trusting people in general, in life. I sometimes expect the worst in people. It's something that I've tried to work on, and I am working on it. I'm not going to say try. I am working on it. I have had a lot of discussions with people and saying, I don't know why I can't trust you right now, but let's talk about this and let's see how we can build this trust. But I can't do that without giving them trust first. An example of this would be giving work to people. You will find this, if you have a problem with this in your personal life, you will have a problem with this, especially in your work life. You will have a problem delegating tasks to people because you think maybe, oh, I've been doing this for so long, I can do this on my own. That's really detrimental to yourself, and it's detrimental to your growth. I really recommend, honestly, giving them tasks. Give them tasks that you are just on the edge of being comfortable with. You're kind of comfortable with it, but you're really not comfortable with it. You're like, oh, I don't know. You give it to them anyway. And as you keep giving them tasks, because they're working for you, you have to delegate. You might be thinking, oh, no. You have to delegate to them. You have to be able to trust them. Give them tasks with more risk involved, especially for you. This is for your own growth, especially as we're talking about this. And then when later down the line, you start hiring new people, you'll have that in your belt to say, hey, I trusted this person. I got to know their work better. I got to know how competent they were, and we really built a solid working relationship. That can really benefit you later down the line. So if you have a problem with that right now, which especially if you are an entrepreneur who has been on your own for a while and you're trying to build your team, understand that people can do things better than you. It's hard to understand that a lot of people can do a lot of things better than you. You are just one person. You have a limited amount of experience and knowledge in things. You have to understand that, especially if the person is specific in what they do. You need to let that go. You need to just let it go, let the task go, breathe, and just come into yourself and say, this is going to be okay, because it will. Whether it goes wrong, it goes well, it will be okay. There's always room to adjust in the future, and you will adjust many, many times as you build your team. It's inevitable and it's okay. Show you care. So Gary Chapman wrote this book called The 5 Love Languages, and there are 5 love languages in which people resonate with bringing in love. There's 1, quality time, 2, words of affirmation, 3, gifts, 4, acts of service, and 5, physical touch. Unfortunately, if you are having a virtual team, it's hard to do the last one. You can't really virtually hug. It's really, really tough. My second most resonating love language is physical touch. It's hard to give the handshake, it's hard to give the pat on the back if they're not there. My first one is quality time. I really enjoyed just talking to people. I like getting to know them. I like being in a room with them with no distractions. And this is uninterrupted, you're fully focused quality time. That is something that I really resonate with and I really appreciate. And then I really feel their love because they've given their time to me. That for me is the biggest gift someone could give me. Speaking of gifts, is the one that I least resonate with. I do not register that as love for some reason. I get 0 on that when I take this test. It just does not register. So if you're wasting your time giving love in a way that someone does not understand or does not take in, don't bother. This is why it's good to take this test. So when I say to people now, I just don't feel love when you give me gifts, they won't bother with it. It just won't be, something that they think about. It'll just be, oh, hey, want to spend some time together? Want to go get coffee, ice cream, hang out, read a book together? I don't know. It can just be something that people really get to know that they're appreciated by. And I think that this is super important with a team. If it's words of appreciation, just shower them with all these, I think you're wonderful because blank, 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 because you did this and it impacted me in this way. It can make such a difference. For some people, words of appreciation, for me, that really doesn't register as much. It registers a little bit more than gifts, but not a lot. But for a lot of people, it can mean so much to them to receive a note and saying, like, you made a difference in my life because, and you made a difference for this team, and you made a difference for this community because blank. Say it regularly, say thank you regularly in ways that people really get to connect with and understand. Communicate directly. I didn't say much about this, but I'm just gonna say from my experience in co-living spaces and then also in communities as a whole, oftentimes people will not be direct in their communication. They will be passive aggressive. They will say to the community as a whole, hey, this went wrong. So what do you want me to do about it? They'll just complain. I'm going to say that that's totally not how it should be. Another big thing that goes on is that people will hold in their anger for a really long time. It will fester. It will become this big knot in their stomach. And they might just drop off your team and you won't know why that happened. That is a really big issue. And because if you hold the policy of direct and open communication, that is much less likely to happen. You need to be clear about how often you communicate. So this is time, and then it's also consistency. So you have to be consistent about the types of communication you have. I recommend video communication if you have a virtual team as much as possible instead of text communication, because so much can be misconstrued through texting. Let's be honest, as much as we all like to text things and post things, it's not the same as talking to somebody or seeing them and seeing their reactions. And then also just, so how to have that direct communication. Ask directly. Ask, so I see you doing this. What is up with that? Obviously, what is up with that will change based off of what you're seeing. But just give them room to explain to you what's happening. Say, hey, I've noticed you not interacting so much with Katie or so anyone on your team. What's going on there? Just give me the details. I'd like to know. To have that, you really do need to build this trust beforehand. Because if they don't feel trusting of you especially, they will not feel trusting enough to say what it is. This will also include some mediation. You have to be willing to mediate conflict in a team. That means having two members on a video chat. I really recommend video chat unless it's something really small. But I really do think video chat is the way to go, Google Hangout. And just say, let them speak their story, speak their piece, whatever that is, and then come to your own decision and then make the choice. Sometimes that can mean firing people. Sometimes that can mean demoting people. Sometimes that can mean, it can mean different things. It can mean moving people on the different teams, or, you know, kicking them out altogether. It really depends. It really depends on what it is. You need to know what your hard limits are going in. You really need to know what your boundaries are. And you need to know if this is really not resonating with our values, and it is super not okay to make a decision on that. And that can be hard, but you have to be, I'm pretty sure I say this after, you have to just be consistent. I think I said this in the bonus tips. Be consistent on how you address problems, and people will see that and respect it. And be firm. Don't give any leeway on what you decide. I made that so kind of off topic from teams. I made that when I decided not to go to college. I don't know how many people under 30 know that. I think a lot of people do. I decided not to go to college, and I told my parents, well, I'm like kind of not sure. This maybe not. But because of that, it can make the final decision so much harder. Do not give leeway on what you decide for people, especially if it involves them finding a new job or finding a new project to work on. Do them the favor and be firm and be direct about what it is that you're trying to communicate. Under promise, over deliver. This is something that's talked about a lot with customers. I really think it should be talked more about with team members. You don't want to make promises you can't keep. I think that's something that should be said. You want to be a reliable person. I can't say how big this is in a team. If people can't rely on you for something, whether it's something small or something big, they just won't trust you. It'll just break down, and the trust won't be there. And that is just sad. It's devastating. You want people to trust you. You want people to divulge their secrets with you. That's applicable to what you're working together. You want to know about their lives, and for them to say that, they have to be able to trust you. And a huge way to do that is to keep your promises. So when I say under promise, I mean if you're promising something, don't say something huge. Under promise. So say, I'm going to, if it's something especially that's requires steps, say, I will do this one task. Say it directly. Say, I will do this one task. If you're saying, I will, like, I made the big promise to say, I will make the summit happen. This is an example. I can promise that to everyone here, to everyone in under 30, it will happen. It was hard for me to promise I will pay the people, this is expectations, I will pay the people who are working on Summit to attend. Don't promise something you can't keep or you aren't sure that you can keep. Super important, just don't do it. It's something that can come back to bite you. People can drop out because of it. Just don't do it. It's courteous to them. And it saves you a lot of time because you can then know what's realistic for you and what you're capable of. I keep coming back to those words, but it's really important with all of this. And then over deliver. This is something that can be done with the love language. Going back to that, over deliver means something so you kept your promise, but you did it with care and you had a lot of attention put into it and you had a lot of time and effort put into it. This is a huge value of under 30. We do things the slow way. It didn't take me, an hour to put this PDF together. It took me all day to put it together. I edited it. I took my time with it. I'm not expecting much out of this webinar. I just doing it for the sake of the people who I love in our community and who I really think should know the lessons that we've learned from building under 30. And yeah, it's so important to just show that you care in the way you deliver your work, in the time that you take to deliver your work. People talk about effectiveness all the time. They talk about, hey, hacks, work hacks. I'm not a huge believer in that stuff. I really believe if you take the time and you take the effort, people will really see that and appreciate it. Not always. Sometimes you'll feel underappreciated yourself. Sometimes you'll be giving all the love in the world and you won't feel like you're getting it in return. That's so normal. But you have to be willing to really over-deliver on your promises, because in the long run, that really does make a difference, not only to your teammates, but to your company as a whole, because you kept your promises and you followed through and you did the work. And that is so needed right now in the world. I can't even tell you. It makes all the difference. We are pretty much done here. After this, it's just bonus tips. So some of the resources I share are the timeline, the 6-month timeline. We use that for the summit. And we also have a link on how to sync your Google calendars. I haven't done that yet. We have a Google Calendar for under 30 as a whole, but we don't have it for our teammates. So we're going to be doing that soon. Someone just shared that tip with me today. This is something that people should really get to understand. Expect the best and prepare for the worst. So expect the best. So expect the best outcome. Okay, everything will go splendidly. I believe in the world will deliver. Prepare for the worst outcome as well. So how we do this and what I've learned the hard way is we double up on our leaders. All of our leadership now has 2. So what this does is the leaders don't feel overwhelmed when they're by themselves. The only person who is kind of by themselves, but I'm really not, I have a vice president, is me. Everyone else has 2 team leaders, or they have a vice president. I think this is so important with every team. It's something that I learned in Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb. He talks about duplication, and when you're experiencing chaos, having everything that's important doubled. People do this with their documents. People do this anyway. And we also have it biologically. We have everything doubled that's important. Our lungs are doubled, our kidneys are doubled, everything that we cannot possibly live without, we have doubled. It's so important to do this in your team, because if people drop out all of a sudden and people have been relying on that person for so long, there's going to be hell to pay. It's super important to have, especially if you're working on an event and it's right near the event. It's harder to adjust. Things that are harder to adjust for, double it. That's what I'm going to say. Be willing to compromise. Be super, super flexible. So you can know your hard limits, but take time to understand the perspective and needs of those around you. This will go in with the blueprint of we. You don't have to have a contract. Sometimes it's better to just have a conversation and say, hey, what's going on? In the event that something goes wrong, prepare for the worst. That saying, understand how to come back to a place of peace and a place of understanding in your team. Say thank you over and over and over again. So in our case, people work for free. I have to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for putting your time into this organization. It is something that not everyone wants to do or can do or is willing to do. And I so appreciate you for doing that. Show that in the language of love that resonates with them. Sometimes if I say that to somebody, it will not register. People will be like, if someone said that to me, it wouldn't register as much as someone taking the time to get to know me, to get to understand who I am. That to me means so much to me. And it doesn't always resonate with people in the way that you think it will. So understand how to communicate that and then do it over and over and over again, because it makes such a difference in the company culture, and it really makes a difference in how you collaborate with one another in the long run. So learn the difference between collaboration, coordination, and cooperation. This is the last thing that I'm going to say. Collaboration is when you have a shared vision. So if you've gone through all of these steps, you have a shared vision and you are working toward it together. But you are also sharing together. You're sharing your lives together. You're sharing your resources. We were working toward this goal together instead of apart. That makes such a huge difference in the rest of, from point A to point B. It's the process that I really enjoy. It's not actually the outcome. And I think that's the same for a lot of people. If you want to make the process of what you do incredible and magical and wonderful, if you want to make, how do we make life wonderful? Collaborate. Do this in a way that makes people come alive, that makes people come into one another, come into themselves, and work together. And there's a big difference between collaboration and teamwork. So, hey, we have this like one little thing and we're going to do it together, and then we're going to come apart. Collaboration is something that continues forward, whether it was a friendship, whether it's with that shared vision, just keeps going. It's something that lives on past you. It's with connection. It's with the things that are generous and you don't have to do them. I think that's really the difference between collaboration and teamwork. It's the things like connecting people in your team, having them share what they know with each other, having them share resources, and having them just working together, but not in a way that is apart. So what I mean by that is that you work on the same task together. How we do this in Under 30 is we have committees. I learned this from doing the dance marathon that I had in high school. I modeled it after, I'm currently in State College, Pennsylvania. I modeled it after Thon, which is a dance marathon in Penn State University. So how it actually happens is you have committees working toward one vision, but like a vision collectively as a whole. So you are still not apart. The collaboration happens when teams themselves work together. So to be able to get to that vision, they have to be willing to work together. We have all of our chair meetings all the time. We have team members meeting with one another, not only in their teams, but with each other all the time. It has to happen for it to be successful. You have to have some cross-pollination. And these are things that take up a lot of time. I'm not going to say that this is an easy process, because it's not. If you're ready to recruit, you have to be willing to cut out a lot of the other things you're doing to focus on your team. That is how it works. It's hey, I am doing all this stuff by myself. I'm just used to doing it by myself. It's such a different mindset shift than, okay, I'm going to be giving my work to other people. I'm going to be letting go of what I've gotten so used to doing by myself for so long. I so understand how hard that is. And it takes a lot of practice. And I'm personally still learning it. But I think when it really comes together, it is so worth it. And I'm going to wrap this up here, but I really wish you the best on everything that you're working on. And let me know how I can help on your project. I've shared what I've known. If there's anything else that you want to ask about, feel free to send me a question. I also ask if anyone who is interested in joining the Under 30 community to just message me on Facebook. You were probably Facebook friends, but if we're not, add me on Facebook. I really appreciate you listening to this and coming here. I hope you have the best evening and best day if you're watching this tomorrow. Good night.